Today we are going to start chapter 7. Okay, so we are going to spend in the syllabus. You will see that we are going to spend 1 week on this chapter. So to be honest, 1 week may be a little bit rush. Why? Because usually it needs a little bit more than 2 lectures, okay, for this whole chapter. But in next week, we will learn chapter, I think, 8 or 9. So in this case, for that chapter, it may not require too much time, okay? It means if we cannot finish this week, we will spend a little bit time next Monday to finish the whole chapter, okay? Which means we have still catch up the schedule, okay? So the topic of this chapter is arrays and lists. So which is a very useful concept. Why? Because what is an array? It's a sequence of items, basically. A sequence of items, like you have a bunch of numbers. You put the first number in the first element, second number in the second element, right? So if you have played the video game, okay, you like to play a video game. So you play, for example, I like the game Resident Evil. You may have heard about that. It's a horror game, okay? It's a kill zombies, okay? So it's fun. So why I use this game? Because in the Resident Evil, there is a backpack system. Okay, you see there are different units for backpack, right? You have a limited amount of space. You need to put your gun, the bullet, your medication, right? Your different stuff. And in the backpack, you have to organize it well, okay, in order to bring as much as possible, okay? You will see there are different units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, units. So this kind of units is similar as a concept arrays, okay? You have first unit, second unit, third unit, fourth unit. For example, sometimes you can put a gun with 2 units. For example, put a gun in the unit 1, number 1, and unit number 2, right? And you put another medication in unit number 3 and number 4. Okay, you organize your backpack in this way. So arrays are like this. It's a sequence, or 2-dimensional, or n-dimensional. Okay. In this lecture, we are going to focus on 1 or 2-dimensional because we do not want things to be too complicated. Okay. Remember, this is the first basic coding class. Okay, coding class. So it means we are focusing on the concept. We do not want to make things too complicated. You will see in this chapter, there are some materials which will appear complicated. Even though they are not complicated, if you consider the whole programming area, but compared to other materials in this semester, so it's complicated. Okay, I will try to go slow and try to explain all the details, okay? Because I understand. So for some of you, you may have missed some lectures. It's common. It's common. You are still confused about some concepts we covered in previous lectures. It's quite possible. So that's why I try to go slow and try to explain all the details to you, because my objective is, if you want to learn, you can learn some useful programming techniques from this class, okay? It depends. If you do not want to learn, there's no way I can help, right? If you want to learn, I want to make sure that you learn the most important concepts for computer programming. It means in the future, okay, when you learn other programming languages, you see, so it's very similar. Okay, I can go very fast. I have a book. I can go 1 chapter in like 15 to 20 minutes. Not like how I learn in C#. Because I'm new in computer programming, I have to spend hours, days on each chapter because I'm new. I have no idea what's going on. I have to spend a lot of effort, right? But after this course, my objective is, so if you have learned enough, you are okay with other programming languages. For example, so there are 4,000 level course for Java programming, a Python programming course for data analytics. Okay. So there are different kinds of courses. So in the later semesters, it means you can learn those courses. Otherwise, for example, if you cannot have enough from this course, there's no way you can take those courses. Okay, I understand, because so for those courses, they are selective. It means you take those courses because you have motivation, you are interested in. For my course, it's a required course. Everyone has to finish this course, okay? I also understand some students are motivated, some are not. You may just want to get a decent grade, okay? But you need to spend effort to accomplish your objective. I encourage you to learn as much as possible in computer programming, because you will feel all the effort you spend will give you a lot of value in the future. Okay, that is my comment, okay? So let's continue with the chapter 7, arrays and lists, okay? So before we come to the concept array, so we first learn value types and reference types. So the data type in C# and the .NET framework fall into two categories: value types and reference types. So a variable that is used to hold a value, such as 23, 19.87, hello, string hello, etc., is a value type of variable. Okay, we hold values. A variable that is used to reference an object is commonly called a reference variable. Okay, it means I have variable object somewhere, but I have a reference pointing to this object. Okay, in C++, if you take an advanced course in C++, okay, so there is a concept pointer, which is a very abstract concept. A lot of students will be confused about the concept, but the concept is widely used in practice. Okay, so we are not dealing with C++, but in C# we have a similar concept, reference. It means it is not a variable holding values. Instead, it is a variable to refer something to something, okay? Refer to something. So reference variables are used to reference objects. They do not actually hold data, okay? There's no data, but they can point to the memory, to the actual object, or to the actual variable, okay? So in C++, so the pointer is something similar, but that is a very abstract, because you will learn pointer, pointer to pointer, pointer to pointer to pointer, which is very abstract, okay? Which is not the scope of this course, but we learn those basic concepts because these are foundation for you to learn those advanced concepts in the future. I still remember, because I graduated from a department which is similar as computer science, okay? We had our first programming course when I was a freshman, first semester. To be honest, I was confused about a lot of concepts at that time. I still remember it was in my third year or fourth year, after a couple of years. So I hated my poor programming background, because each time I had a lot of questions. I had to ask help from my friends, okay, from my roommates. So I hate my poor programming background. So I decided to learn that. So I bought a book. I still remember it is Programming C++ 6.0 with examples. Okay, with examples. Okay, I still remember that. The name of the book. So it's simple. There's a lot of examples like this. Build graphical interface by simple code. Okay, like this. So I practiced all the examples in the book. After that, I learned a lot. My programming background improved a lot. You see, I had a poor programming background when I was a freshman. My first year, right? After 2 or 3 years, I decided to learn something. I improved myself. You see, it's common, right? For you, if you're confused, it's okay. But if you keep spending effort, you will learn a lot. That is always true, because you will find computer programming is not too complicated. There are rules there. You just need effort and practice. You practice more, you will learn more. Okay, that is always the case. Okay, so what I want to say is, don't be frustrated if you feel that I'm still confused about a lot of concepts, because it's fine. I experienced same thing when I was a freshman. Okay, I want to encourage you, keep spending effort. Okay, you will get your reward in the future. Okay, even though now you may feel it's tough and you're confused about a lot of things, it is okay. It is okay. Okay. So how a value type works? When you declare a value type variable, the compiler allocates a chunk of memory that is big enough for the variable. The memory that is allocated for a value type variable is the actual location that will hold the value assigned to the variable. When you are working with a value type, you are using a variable that holds a piece of data. Basically, the procedure is like this. Compiler will find a chunk of empty address or location in your memory. Then the compiler will reserve this piece of memory, put the variable in the memory, and use it. When the memory is not effective, it means, for example, it's a local variable. When it is done for the method, the local variable is gone. It is not effective. That memory will be free to other variables, right? So I can tell you in nowadays, for example, in the C# you can see we do int, score, we do string, name, right? We do decimal price, right? You declare a variable, that's it, okay? So in this case, when we declare array, it will be similar. We will do int array, something like this, right? So we do this because now we have no memory problem. Memory is huge, right? I believe in most of your laptops, you have at least 8 GB memory, right? Some of you may have 16 GB, maybe 32 GB, right? So I remember when I was a student, our memory is what? 16 MB, which is extremely small, right? And that time when we try to program, so we create variables because the memory was so small, right? So before we declare a variable, we had to tell the compiler, try to find available address for the variable, because sometimes the compiler may fail to find the available memory because it's too small, okay? Now the memory was so big, so you can just declare it, no problem, okay? It was so big, okay? So while you are working with a value type, you are using a variable that holds a piece of data. Basically, you are trying to use a piece of memory and use the data inside this piece of memory. It's address, okay, it's address. So how a reference type works? When working with a reference type variable, you use both, first, an object that is created in memory, actual object, okay, actual object. The second one is a variable that references object. You have something, flag, pointing to this object, okay? So the object that is created in memory holds data, and you need a way to refer to it. A variable is then created to hold a value called a reference. A reference variable does not hold an actual piece of data. It simply refers to the location of the data. The reference links the variable that holds act data to the object. It's like if a kite is object, then the spool of string that holds the kite is the reference, okay? Is the reference. So how to create a reference type? We have two different steps. First, we declare a reference variable. Secondly, we create an object and associate it with the reference variable. So for example, our example is a random class. Okay, we first declare a random class. So the rand part declares a variable named rand. The new random part creates an object and returns to a reference to the object. The equal sign operator assigns the reference that was returned from the new operator to the rand variable, okay? It's like we create a label and the label is pointing to the actual object. Okay, pointing to the actual object. So we need that concept, okay, concept for the array. Okay, why we need that? We will see that. Okay, you will see that. So we first, what is an array? An array allows you to store a group of items of the same data type together in memory. For example, I want something which can store the names of all the students in this course. Okay, we have around 40 students. It means we need a sequence, okay, of around 40 elements for the 40 names. Okay, for the 40 names. So this is an array. The key thing you need here is a group of items of the same data type. Okay, what do we mean? For example, we put string, they are all strings. Okay, we put number, they are all numbers. Same data type. Okay, same data type. Processing a large number of items in array is usually easier than processing a large number of items stored in separated variables. For example, if I have two numbers, okay, the first number is 99, the second number is 100. So without array, I can use two different variables. I can do int number 1 equals 99, int number 2 equals 100. It means in the future, if I want to use 99, I go to number 1, right? If I want to use 100, I will use number 2, okay? I have two different variables. In this case, each variable is a separated item that must be declared and individually processed. Variables are not ideal for storing and processing lists of data. Why? Let's assume I have 1,000 of data from 1 to 1,000, 1,000 numbers. If we follow this strategy, we have to declare 1,000 variables one by one, right? It means we will repeat similar code for 1,000 times. Conceptually, it's redundant. Okay, it's redundant. So we have to use a different strategy. This strategy. So arrays are reference type objects. What is that? It is. Let me use idea. Okay, you will see what's the concept. It is like this. So it is. I would like to reserve a sequence of spaces in the memory. Okay, same kind of similar size, but sequence of spaces. Okay, sequence of units. But in order to declare array, because it's a sequence, right? It's a sequence. So I can just refer to the head of the sequence, right? Then by trace the sequence, I can go to any element. If I remember the head, okay, the head. So that is why arrays are reference type objects. It's like it is something pointing to the head of the sequence, okay? That is a very important concept because an array will not refer to the whole sequence. It refers to the head of the sequence because it's a sequence one by one. If I know where is the head, first element, then I can trace to any element in the sequence, right? That's why array are reference type objects. So to create an array, you need to first declare a reference type array variable. Number 2, create the object and associate it with the reference variable. It is like this. We do in C#, we do data type. We have a pair bracket, okay? Then we have array name. Array name, for example, we do int bracket number arrays. It means we are going to create an array. The reference name is numbers array, okay? It points to some memory. So the general form to create array object and associate it with the variable is this: array name, new data type, array size. So in this case, the difference is we know the size of the array. For example, we have 40 students. When I want to create an array to hold all the names, I know the size is 40. Okay, size is 40. So a new keyword creates an object in memory. It also returns a reference to that array. For example, like this. Numbers array equals new int 6. It means we create an array with 6 units in memory. In each unit, it will be used to hold a int value. Okay, 6 units, int value for per unit. But the name numbers array are reference pointing to the head of this sequence in the memory. Okay, so this is the reference to that array. Okay, to that array. So in the previous example, there are 2 statements. Okay, so we first declare int array. It is a int type of array. The second one is we let C# know that this numbers array will point to a int array with 6 different units. Okay, so these 2 statements can be combined into one statement, like int numbers array equals new int 6. Okay, it means so we have 2 different statements to declare array with size 6. We can combine these 2 with just one statement, int bracket numbers array equals new int 6. Okay, with a single statement, we can declare a int array with size to be 6. Okay, with size to be 6. So you can create arrays of any data type. For example, you can do double, decimal, string. Okay, remember I have told you in this course we will focus on what? Int, decimal, double, string, bool, maybe. Okay, these different types. An array size declarator must be a positive integer and can be a literal value or a named constant. Okay, named constant. You can now do -1 array because the size can only be positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so and also you can use a constant or a variable. Usually we do a constant. Why? Because constant will be declared in the beginning of your code. Okay, if you use number 6 without using a constant, in this case, in the future, you want to revise number 6. Okay, you may have to revise that number in multiple different places in your code. It's quite possible you will miss some 6, right? Number 6. But if you declare a constant size equals 6 in the beginning of your code, in the future, if you would like to change the number size from 6 to 7, for example, then you just need to change this line statement. Okay, the first line, that's enough. Okay, that's the benefit for us to declare a constant. Okay, declare a constant. So now we have some examples. Declare an int array with reference named counts array and length 30. So in this case, I want you to write one statement. Okay, it is int bracket counts array equals new int 30. Okay. Second one, declare a string array with reference named names and the length 50. In this case, we do string. Okay, string. Last one is declare a decimal array with reference named prices and length 100. Okay, we do decimal and length size is 100. Okay, size is 100. So for array elements, the storage location in an array are known as elements. In memory, an array's elements are located in consecutive memory location. Okay? So that's why I mentioned that in nowadays we have a large memory. Declaring an array is easy, okay? But in old days, when I was a student, a long time ago, okay? So we have like 16, 32 megabytes memory. You see, an array has to be consecutive, right? So because of the small size of the memory, sometimes it is impossible for the computer to find a consecutive memory to hold all the elements, right? That's why in those days, before we declare array, we have to tell the computer, try to find a consecutive memory first. Then the computer will organize the memory first. Okay, organize. Then there will be more organized space, right? Then reserve a consecutive of spaces in the memory. In nowadays, the Windows system is smarter, right? And the memory is much larger. So we don't have those issues now, okay? So each element in an array is assigned a unique number known as a subscript. Sometimes I call it index, okay? So the official name is subscript. So subscripts are used to identify specific elements in an array. Now we learn a very important concept for you. Subscript numbering starts with 0. In C++, your other advanced programming language is similar. So the element number 1 index will be 0. Okay, element number 2, the index number will be 1. Okay, it means if we declare array, for example, with 5 elements, okay, with 5 elements, the corresponding index or subscript number for these 5 elements will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There is no number 5. Okay, there is no number 5 for the subscript. Only 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It means if I ask you in the exam, okay? So please refer to the 5th element. 5th element. So in array of size 5, you go to number 5, index number 5, then it is wrong. If you put it in C#, you will have an error because C# will tell you there is no index number 5. Okay, we only have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those 5 different numbers, okay? Those 5 different numbers. So when you create a numeric array in C#, the value of each of its elements are set to 0 by default. Okay, default values are 0. Okay, default values are 0. So working with array elements, given the following code, you can access each individual element by using its subscript. For example, we can do const int size equals 5. Declare constant first, size equals 5. Then we use this line of statement to declare a int array with size number 5. Okay, we can use the index number. Okay, the index number to refer to each element. Index number 0 or subscript number 0, so will be the first element. Okay, so index number 1 will be the second element, number 2 the third element, number 3 the fourth element, number 4 the last element. Okay, the 5 elements will have index numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. No number 5. Okay, no number 5. In your programming, in your code, if you would like to set value or manipulate the third element in this array, you should use what? Numbers array 2, number 2, not number 3. Okay, be careful about this index because in your project, if you make a mistake about this index number, so you may not have a syntax error. Okay, however, your results will be wrong, which means you have logic errors. Okay, You have to fix it. So this is one thing you need to be careful with, okay? Index number. So this is one example. Assume the array counts array is defined. What is the value of variable sum after we execute the following statements? So constant size equals 4. Then we declare counts array is new int size. We declare array with 4 elements. So we initialize the int variable sum to be number 0. Then for the 4 elements in the int array counts array, we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 4 different numbers. Sum is number with index number 1 plus number with index number 2. If this is a problem, right? Or if this is your code, you have to be very clear. So for sum, we are summing what? We are summing the second element plus the third element, okay? Index number 1 will refer to the second element. Index number 2 will refer to the third element, okay? Third element. So it means sum equals second element 20 plus third element 30, 20 plus 30, which is 50, So array initialization, when you create array, you can optionally initialize it with a group of values. So for example, first we declare constant size equals 5. Now we have this int bracket numbers array equals new int size, okay? This part is the same as the previous example, but in this example, we have something additional, which is this pair of curly braces are following new int size, okay? What is that? So with this pair of curly braces and the 5 numbers inside, we are actually initializing the 5 elements for this array, okay? So the 5 elements of this array will be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, okay? After we finish this line of statement. It means we can declare array and initialize all the elements in one line of a statement. Okay, this is how we can write a statement. Or we can do this. Int numbers array equals new int. You see, in the second way, in the pair of bracket, we don't have a size. Instead, so it follows with a pair of curly braces with 5 elements. Why we can do that? Because one C# cannot find a number in the pair of brackets. C# will count how many numbers are inside this pair of curly braces. Okay? Obviously, in this example, there are 5 numbers in this pair of curly braces. So C# will automatically set up the size of the array to be 5 because there are 5 elements inside this pair of curly braces. Okay? Or we can do it even more simpler like this. Int nums array equals 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Because why we can do that? Because so we already know that so numbers array is int. Okay, it's already int type. And the size can be found in this pair of curly braces. All the required information to declare an array is available here, right? So C# can ignore this part by using an even simpler, right, statement to declare a int array numbers array with 5 elements. Okay, with 5 elements. In practice, you can use anyone. Okay, you can use anyone. I recommend for new students who are new in computer programming, use the first one. because the first one give you all the pieces. It's complete, right? It is easy for you to understand. For example, I have worked on a project for 2 days. I want to go back to check my code, okay? You may have forgot something, okay? But with a detailed or the first way of statement, it's easy for you to understand what's going on there, okay? If you already have some coding experience, anyone is fine. That is based on you, okay? Anyone is fine, okay? Anyone is fine. Now we have one example. Write a statement to declare a string array with reference name days and elements Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So in this case, so you can do what? You can use any format among the three, right? For the first one, we use complete statement. Strings bracket days equals new string. We have 7. Okay, we have 7 inside the bracket. So we have a following what? Pair of curly braces. Inside it, we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But be careful, we are declaring an array with elements, string elements. So for each word, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you need a double quote, okay? For each string, okay? Elements are separated by commas, okay, by commas. The second one, we ignore the number inside this bracket, okay, inside this bracket. Because inside this pair of curly braces, there are 7 days, 7 elements. C# can figure out the size of the array automatically, okay? So for the third one, we can even ignore the new string part, okay? Just put this pair of curly braces on the left-hand side of the equal sign, okay? Any one will be fully correct. It means in the exam, okay, because you can see that in the exam, there will be a lot of coding questions. Most of them are similar as the examples here. Maybe the last 1 or 2 questions are combinations of some examples. So in order to finish the exams efficiently, you need to be very familiar with these examples, because I'm testing you. When you write the statements by yourself without any help, for example, without the intelligence help from C#, can you write all statements without any error? Because that is one basic requirement for a professional programmer. So can you imagine a programmer who cannot even write 10 statements without any problem? Such a programmer can finish a project with 20,000 line of statements. It's impossible. It's very difficult, okay? So as a professional programmer, you should have the capability to write 50 lines, at least 50 lines to 100 lines of these statements without any error, especially simple things, right? And I understand for advanced algorithms, things can happen. It's okay, you can fix that. But for simple things, for example, declare variables, declare arrays, right? Simple for loop, okay? So simple while loop, very simple stuff. You have to be able to write all the lines without any error by yourself. That is one basic requirement for a professional programmer, okay, professional programmer. So another example is for given the following definition of an array, scores array, write a statement to change its third element to 80. So in this case, we use one line statement, and there are 6 elements, right? 60, 65, 70, 90, 95, 82. I'm asking you to revise or to change the third element to 80. Here, I'm testing you. What is the index number, right, or subscript number of the third element? The subscript number will be number 2, not number 3, okay? Because the first element will be number 0. The whole array will start from subscript number 0. The third element will be number 2. Will be number 2. So because in array we have a bunch of sequence of elements, so most frequently we will use a loop to step through an array. Okay, 2 steps through an array. So as an array uses int values as subscripts, a loop can easily be written to step through the elements of an array. For example, constant size is 3. We declare a int array with size equal to 3. So because we know how many elements are in the array, if we know the number of loops we are going to do, right? In this case, we prefer to for the for loop. Okay, I'm not saying you cannot use while loop, but we prefer to for loop because for for loop, usually we know the number of iterations. Okay, I think that is a problem in midterm. That is true, false. True, false, or multiple choice. I think that's a question in the midterm. Okay, so one we are going to use the for loop. Okay, for loop. So this example assigns 99 to each array element as its value. So notice that the number of iterations cannot exceed the array size. Otherwise, an exception will be thrown at runtime. So for example, if size equals 3, right? You see that. So for loop, let me recall your memory. For loop, it is first we have 3 different clauses, right? In a for loop, the first one is initial condition, index is 0. Then index less than size, that's the expression, right? Expression. Index plus plus will be the update statement. It means for loop. So in the beginning, so for loop will initialize index equal to 0. Then for loop will check if index is less than size. If the expression is true, the for loop will go inside the pair of curly braces, execute all the statements, right? Once C# finishes, C# go to the update statement. Once update is done, C# will do this expression again, right? Update expression, right? You see, for number 0, the condition is true, 1 iteration. Update number 1, update number 2, update, then the index equal to number 3, right? 3 less than 3, that is not true, that is false, right? It means one for loop will find index equal to 3, for loop will jump out. Okay, you see. So for this for loop, one index equal to number 0, we have 1 iteration. One index equal to number 1, another iteration. Index equals to number 2, another third iteration. Index equal to number 3, jump out, no iteration, right? So 3 iterations. Okay, 3 iterations. So it means array is 3. We have exactly 3 iterations. The corresponding index number for the 3 iterations will be 0, 1, and 2. Okay. However, if you mistakenly write another condition, which is index is less or equal than size, in this case, we will have 1 iteration for index number 0, another iteration index number 1, third iteration index number 2, 1 index equal to 3, right? This condition, index is less or equal than size, is still true. It means C# will go inside. Okay, go inside. C# will try to do my value number 3, right? Index number equals 3 equals 99. But as we just learned, the size is 3. The index numbers corresponding to the 3 elements are 0, 1, 2. There is no index number 3. So in this case, C# will throw out an error. Okay, an exception will occur. Okay, occur. So we have one example here. Given the following definition of a string array, days array, write a loop to assign string day I to the ith element. For example, the first element of the array should be day 1, day space 1, okay, day space 1, the string. Second one, day space 2. Third element, day space 3, right? So in this example, we can do this, right? First, we declare a constant, size equal to 5, okay? Then we declare string array without declaring its element, okay? Declaring its element. So I'm asking you to write the remaining part. These 2 lines are given. So in this case, you need a for loop, right? So the for loop will be what? Index equal to 0, index less than size, index plus plus, right? So for each element, it will be day. You see, I have string day with a space, okay? Plus means it's string concatenation, okay? We have learned it before. So it plus what? Index plus 1, why? Because in this index number starts from 0. It does not start from number 1, okay? We need first element to be day 1, not day 0, right? So in this case, we can do index plus 1, okay? You see, here, I do not transform number to strings, okay? I use string concatenate numbers. Why? Because for string concatenation, when you concatenate string with numbers, C# you transform, right, numbers to string automatically. Okay, we learned this. If you check the slides, we learned it in the slides. Okay. However, if you want to transfer this to string, it is also okay. It is also correct. Okay, it is also correct. So another answer is for initial conditions, we have index equals number 1, but in this case, the condition will be index is less or equal than size. Okay, so in this case, we have the space, a string plus index. Okay, you see, when index starting number is 0, the condition is less than size. Okay, when index equals number 1, the condition is less or equal to size, because we need to guarantee all the elements in the array are enumerated in the for loop, and no elements outside the array are accessed. Okay, for example, the size equal to 5. We need to make sure index number 5 is not there. That's why I write index minus 1. Okay, index minus 1. Okay. So when you write your own code in your project, you have to pay attention to those details. Because if these details, you have some problems in these details, you will have some error. Okay, you have to figure this out and fix those problems. So another thing for array is length property. So in C#, all arrays have a length property that is set to the number of elements in the array. Okay, in the array. For example, we declare temperature to be double array with size to be 25. Okay, so if we want to display the length of the array temperature, we know that there are 25 elements. So the length is 25, right? Length is 25. So we can use temperatures.length. That will return a int number, which refers to how many elements are in the array. Okay, how many elements are in the array? The value of the length property can be useful when processing the entire array with a for. If you do not want to set up a number here, you can use temperatures.length. That will give you the length of this array as the condition in the for loop. Okay, in the for loop. So here is one example. Assume that an array, int array, numbers array has been declared. Write a statement to show the number of elements in this array in a message. So here you need to know that first. So the number of elements is the length property. We need to use the length property. That's the first thing. Okay. The second thing is the length property will give us a int number. We need a string, right, for the message box.show method. The numbers array.length, this part will give us a int number. You cannot put this int number in the message box.show method directly, because so that method, message box.show method, it requires a string as the input arguments, right? So in this case, you need another .toString method to transform the int number to a string. Then the result can be used as the argument of the message box.show method. Okay? So assume that an int array, numbers array has been declared. Write a loop to change all its elements to 80. Okay? So I'm not in this problem. I did not give you any information about how many elements are in the array, right? So in this case, you need to know that for the for loop, the expression, in the expression, you need to use the length property, okay? So the length property will start with a capital L, okay? Capital L, okay? So this is how we use the length property, So for array, we have a special method to go through each individual element. So that method is the for each loop, okay? So we use the for each loop with arrays. C# provides a special loop called for each to simplify some types of array processing. The for each loop works with a temporary read-only variable called an iteration variable. The general form is for each, okay, for each. Data type, variable name in array name, okay? So inside we got statements, okay? So in this square, in this rectangle, we have one example. First, we declare a int number equals 369, int numbers array, right? So in this example, in the numbers array, we have 3 elements, 3, 6, and 9, okay? So for this array, now we do not want to use a for loop. Instead, we would like to use for each, the method for each loop. So we do this, for each, we do int value in numbers. It means we would like to enumerate all the values in the array. We are not referring to the index, right? You see, in the for loop, right, we are using the index or the subscript number, right? But for the for each loop, we are going to enumerate the values inside the array directly. We do int val in numbers. So the val will refer to each element in the number one by one, okay? We do that for each element. We are going to display its value. Same thing, the numbers are int arrays, right? Each value will be int. So we have to transform the int with the toString method to a string, okay? Then use the message box.show method to display each element. So data type is the data type of the array. Variable name is the temporary iteration variable's name. In is a keyword. You see, in is a keyword that must appear in expression. Array name is the name of the array to process. It means int is a keyword, right? You can use decimal if the array is decimal. In is another keyword. Okay, the val is the variable you define. It means that name can be chosen arbitrarily. In this example, it can be val, or I choose none. Okay, I can choose another name. Any name will work, but it has to be used inside the loop. Okay, because we are enumerating all the values in an array without using the index number. Okay, without using index number. So this is one example. Assume the following statements are given. Use the for each loop to calculate the sum of all elements in score array. So we declare constant int size equals 4. Then we do score array is 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay. I want you to write some simple code to calculate the sum of all these 4 different numbers. And I'm asking you to what? To use for each loop. Okay? For each loop. So first, you declare a variable sum equal to 0. Secondly, you use for each. You do int val in score array sum plus equals val. So this sum equal to 0 is important. Why? Because what is sum plus equal to val? It is sum equals sum plus val, right? So without sum equal to 0, how you can deal with the first element? Because for the first value, it is sum equals sum plus val. So for your variable sum, you need initial value, right? It is 0. If you don't have the 0, C# will give an error. It will tell you, so you need a value for the sum to do the calculation. Okay? That's why in this example, this statement int sum equal to 0 is also useful. It is not a statement in which you can do this. I can do int sum. Okay, and just do this without the equal to 0 part. Okay, you cannot do this in this example because you need an initial value for the variable sum. Okay. So the next part is working with files and arrays. Okay, files and arrays. What is that? It is we would like to read the numbers from txt file. We have learned this before, right? How we can read the numbers from the txt file. When we finish all the calculation, how we can output the results to a txt file. Okay. So we first declare a int number to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 5 elements. Then we do string writer. See, you see string writer means we are going to output something, right? Output something to a txt file. So you see, we have learned the standard steps, how we can write output, right, to a txt file. First step is to declare a string writer object, right? Second step is to create a txt file or open an existing txt file, right? We have 2 ways. Create text is to create a new txt file. Append text, right, will open an existing txt file, okay? Then in this case, because we know there are 5 elements, we use length property. So we are going to use writeLine method to write each number in the txt file values.txt. Okay, values.txt. When we are done with all the 5 numbers, the 4th step will be we close the file. Okay, all the 4 steps have to be there. Okay, I just remind you, right, what we have learned in the processing txt file section. Okay, this is how we write output to an txt file. Okay, to a txt file. So this is one example. Assume that after executing some statements, the array scores array equals 65, 88, 76, 90, 95. Write statements to output the array to a txt file scores.txt in the default path. So same thing, you just need to follow the steps we learned in the previous Example, first declare an string write object. Second thing, create a new txt file. Third thing, use a for loop, right, to write all the elements to the txt file. Fourth element, close the txt file. Close the txt file. So you see that this can be a problem in the final exam, okay? You see, if this is a problem, then it can be difficult or easy. If you are prepared well, at least you know that, oh, this is the example we have learned in chapter 7. Okay, you are very familiar with that. Okay, you have some memory about that, but I know where it is. Okay, so you have the memory, you find the slide quickly, you get the materials, you read it again to understand what's going on, then you build your own answer, right? For the exam, you're done. I think for the whole process, it may take 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, however, if you're not prepared, you think, oh, I have my book, I have my lecture slides, I can use my materials. So in the exam, I have time to check those things. I'm okay. You see, you have no idea where it is, right? You need to go through a lot of slides. Let's assume after 5 to 10 minutes, you find it. Okay? Because you're not prepared, it may take another 3 to 5 minutes to read it, to understand what's going on, right? Then you build your answer. You see, at least 15 to 20 minutes is gone because of that problem. I'm testing you. I'm not giving you 5 hours, 10 hours to finish exam, okay? There's a time limit. I'm assuming that you are prepared well. I'm assuming you know something about here, right? So in this case, if you are prepared, it's easy. 3 minutes, 4 minutes is done. If you're not prepared, it can be difficult because you have still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of statements, right? And so if you're not prepared, it's not easy to write all the statements by yourself. Okay? So that's why I mentioned you have to be prepared, okay, for the exam. So reading values from a file into an array. So for the previous example, we learned how to write output to an array. In this example, we learn how we can read values from array, right? You see, it is usually in data analytics. It is the first step because in your company, your boss will give you data in CSV file. It is kind of Excel format, okay? CSV file. The first step is to read the data from a local CSV file to in C# or in Python, in whatever programming language you are using, right? So now we learn how to read data. So we first declare a size constant equal to 5. Then we declare a int array numbers. Then we try to read input from a txt file. Still, I recall your memory. To read numbers from a txt file, you also need 4 steps, okay? Step number 1, declare a stream reader object. Step number 2, open the txt file. Step number 3, because we are reading, right? Most of the time, we have no pre-knowledge how many lines are there, okay? So we try to use a while loop. You will find those examples in our slides, okay? In the, I think, chapter 5, okay? Chapter 5. So we have used while loop. It means if we have read enough data, because the length is 5, we can only get 5 numbers, or we have reached the end of the document, okay? If either condition is true, we have to stop, okay? Then we do number index equals int parse, because when we read lines from txt file, we are reading string, we're getting string, right? So we have to use int.parse method to transform string to numbers. Because it's a while loop, don't forget to update the index number. If you don't update, so C# will stay inside forever. It will be a dead loop, or dead loop. So the last step, when we are done, the last step is to close the file. Same 4 steps, okay? I just try to remind you what we have learned in the chapter how we read numbers from a document, from a text file. So this is one example. In the default path, there's text file names.txt, write statements to read the first 5 names to the array name array. Same thing, right? We assume given the size to be 5, declare string variable. Everything is similar, right? You just declare index to be 0, declare string reader object, open the txt file. Well, right, index is less than 5, or we reached to the end, right? So we do this. In this case, we read string directly, no need to transform from string to any int or decimal, right? Do not forget update the index number. When we're done, close the file. Okay? You see, this can also be another problem in the exam. If you are prepared, 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes.